Well, tourism in Egypt is one of the two pillars that Egypt, the national income of Egypt depends upon. Beside the first one is the Suez Canal, and the second is tourism. We are going to discuss now tourism in Egypt, and especially domestic tourism, and the efforts exerted by the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities and initiatives the ministry have launched during the feast time in order to boost the domestic tourism in Egypt. Well, to shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have this phono with Mr. Karim al-Menbawi, tourism expert. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon and happy feast.
Happy feast to you, sir. Well, Mr. Karim, how do you see the initiatives that was launched by the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities concerning the domestic tourism in Egypt, the offers and the all the initiatives during the and making benefit of the time of the feast, that was clear in the way the Ministry of Tourism, for example, offered the tickets of the museums, visiting museums at low prices. Also the hotels here in Egypt, in Sharm el-Sheikh, in North Coast, everywhere in Egypt. What's your comment?
Well, this has, I mean, this initiative actually, not specifically this one, the idea of promoting domestic tourism has been on the priority of the Ministry of Tourism and the Egyptian Tourist Board for quite some time. And it's increasing. I mean, this current initiative is not the first and hopefully will not be the last. By the contrary, there are more to come and more deeply targeting local market to come. I see the initiative of starting to give special entrance fee for the historical sites as a great one. Yes. We definitely need the Egyptian to get to know their history and culture much more. It hasn't been a target in the past, but it is now the time to increase the value and share this with the Egyptian and for everybody to know the history and their cultures and civilization and so on. Yes. As far as hotels are concerned, this actually the greatest dilemma. If I have a couple of minutes just to share, it's the greatest dilemma for the ministry and the tourist bureau to handle, because the issue here is that every time during the feasts, obviously it's like an offer and demand. You have, let's say, 1,000 rooms, but you have 10,000 people who wants to travel, and the ministry and the tourist bureau always gets a complaint from the Egyptian. The prices are very expensive. It's a matter of demand and offer. If you want to travel during the feast only, of course, I mean, the prices will be high because this is where everybody wants to travel, specifically into the very appealing destinations.
Yes, it's a high season, of course.
Yeah, namely the North Coast, for instance. But I urge the Egyptians to start changing their mind in seizing these opportunities to split the interest. I mean, not to be, it's Alexander and North Coast, and that's the interest in the feast. Well, I mean, maybe once Alexander and North Coast, another time let's go to the Red Sea, a third time let's go to Upper Egypt. Upper Egypt now would be offering a fantastic, as far as hotels are concerned, will be offering fantastic deals. Again, because of number one, it's not the high season for tourists. Number two, it's I mean, it's a deviation a little bit of what most of the Egyptians would go to the North Coast. So you benefit twice. You get the special entrance fee, the specials of this, the entrance fees, but also you get a very decent hotel accommodation. But yes, this goes throughout the history and the future. If we all go to the same place at the same time, prices will keep be more expensive than the norm. But if we split ourselves, this is what will actually help everybody to enjoy the time at a very good value for money.
Yes. So, Mr. Karim, also, the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, how to see its preparations and organizing before the feast started. The Ministry of Antiquities and Tourism, of course, started spreading awareness and spreading information and news about the offers that it's offering for the Egyptians in order to encourage the domestic tourism in Egypt.
Yes, I mean that's what I mean. It has been on their priority for long. Yes. Now the analysis goes much further. That's what I'm saying. We're going to see even more promotion and more interest in the coming future. They are further promoting domestic travel during the non-seasonal time. So yes. By approaching the hotel, seeing what's the gaps where the hotels can offer special deals, because again, the hotel, if it's full, whether with Egyptian or with foreigner, I mean, if you ask for more rooms, the prices will be high. So they are approaching the suppliers, the cruisers and the hotels throughout Egypt, checking on where are the gaps where hotels need the business, where they obviously will do special deals for the Egyptian, and this what would be promoted along the years. Yes. Or along the coming months.
Yes. Mr. Karim, as we can see also that the ministry have spread awareness concerning and news concerning the offers that it was offering the citizens and also advising them where to go and what to visit and what are the museums they should visit and the discounts that they are going to receive on tickets in order to visit, for example, as we just mentioned in this episode a few minutes ago, that the Museum of Civilization, of Egyptian Civilization, have witnessed a flow and a large number of Egyptians visited the museum. What are the places that the Egyptians prefer to visit during the religious, such a religious feast like Eid al-Adha in the Islamic Cairo?
Well, there is no specific sites for the Bayram feast. It's not specific. Yes. But as you correctly mentioned, there have been a great appeal, not during the feast, but even a bit earlier, onto the Civilization Museum. Of course, Civilization Museum is a much lighter much lighter site, because it's not 100% pharaonic and so on, so which is a little bit heavy. But it actually takes you from throughout all the eras and all the different civilization that Egypt witnessed even before the pharaohs. So it's very appealing. It's very nice. Of course, you end your trip with the mummies exhibit, which is beautifully done. In fact, beautifully done in a very artistic way. So it has an appeal much more than the other side, rather than you just go to the Karnak Temple or Luxor Temple, which are beautiful, but it's a little bit heavier. So that's why it had much more appeal than even the National Museum, Egyptian National Museum. That's number one. But let me just seize the opportunity and say that the privilege of trying to do this awareness is not only to ensure that Egyptian gets good deals, but also this will introduce Egypt as a touristic destination to the locals, let them appreciate the value of the civilization we have, and let them also understand the interests of the tourist who wants to visit the sites when they are in Egypt in peace and so on. This will decrease a lot if we manage to really promote the domestic tourism. It will help the Egyptian to also avoid pushing the tourist and preserve not only the site but also the tourist visit itself of being abused or being interrupted by any source of pushing or nagging or whatever. That's a culture that we need to spread, that Egypt needs to spread throughout. It will help also the tourist experience while they are in Egypt.
Yes. So, Mr. Karim, also Egypt have announced lifting all COVID-related entry restrictions for all travelers, whether from Egypt or foreigners. How would that decision also affect the flow of tourists to the country?
You mean the entry to the country? You mean?
Yes, and also Egyptians when they go anywhere now, there are not such restrictions as Egypt used to do 2 years ago or 1 year ago.
Well, for tourists, any facilitation you would do for tourism, it will help increasing the flow. Yes. So if you were only giving the what we used to call the emergency visa for certain nationalities at the airport, so those are the nationalities that wouldn't need to go through lots of hassles and sparing time and money in order to get their visa before arriving to Egypt. So of course that was easy for them. If you increase this list as much as you can, or if you offer an easy way of an online visa for those who are required to do a pre-entry visa, of course, any type of this sort of facilities will help increasing the flow from those other countries that were not allowed to get emergency visa at the airport. So that was an excellent idea and a great move from the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. Now, for Egyptian, again, as much as you facilitate the visit, whether by logistically or by the value or the price you pay, you will simply get a positive return, and you will have more domestic traffic visiting the site. We are now experiencing a low season, this is normally a low season from all over the world. Most of part of the world, European, most of the European, with the exception of Spanish and Italian, travel less in summer to Egypt. Number one, because of not only the Eid, but this is their summer holidays. They stay with families. They travel domestically as well, and so on. And this is what Egyptians do. So we also travel domestically. This is the time that we mostly travel domestically, and making use of this low season due to the unused of the suppliers by the foreigner, then it gives the Egyptian the possibility of enjoying their wealth and their treasures and their civilization and get to know it better.
Yes. I thank you very much for your valuable information. Happy feast to you and to your family. Thank you for joining us over the phone, Mr. Karim Al-Menbawi, tourism expert. Well, with this, my dear viewers, we come to the end of this episode of our program, Cairo Local Time. I'm Amal Mukhtar. Thank you for watching.